Welcome to Learn as You Grow, the podcast where we grow every day in every way, sharing gardening tips, ideas, and inspiration to help you cultivate your best garden and self. Let's talk about what are we doing in the spring to our gardens? We can go over assessing the soil quality in all the spaces where we're growing. So there's regular testing that we can do where you get a kit either from a company or your extension office in your state. You follow the instructions, you put the sample in, you send it back, they send you the um, test results back, right? You can do that as many times as you want. A lot of people do one for each garden area. You can do a visual inspection, looking at the appearance, feeling it. Healthy soil should have that dark, rich color, which indicates good organic matter content. If it's pale or sandy, we can talk about improvements as we go here. The texture test. If it feels gritty, you have sandy soil. If it's smooth and sticky, you have clay soil. Loamy, which is ideal, will be soft and crumbly. There's there's a there's this test where you take a scoop of soil and you put it in a mason jar, a quart-sized jar, and you add water and you shake it and then you let it sit and it separates. And so like each separation, it'll show you how much percentage of what is in your soil. So the clay separates, the sand separates, it's all these different layers. We did an example of this in the live stream at the Shawnee Grows YouTube channel where we looked at how that test works, and then as well as this drainage test. So digging a small hole where you plan to put your garden or have it already, filling it with water, letting it drain, fill it with water again, and within the hour that should drain. If it still has standing water in it for hours after that, it indicates compacted soil or poor drainage, which does need attention. So, when we are looking at assessing the soil, we then move into improving the soil, right? We always can amend with organic matter. That's your compost, manure, mulch, all those things that help with microbial activity, enhancing your nutrient absorption, improving structure and moisture retention, right? There's biochar that you can be adding, your compost tea as a soil drench, mushroom compost, the beautiful worm castings to each planting is how I use worm castings. I don't just broadcast, throw them everywhere. No, it's directly in the hole of where I'm planting something. Mulch, of course, is conserving your moisture and suppressing weeds and breaks down and adds nutrients back to the soil as it decomposes. The examples of that are straw, grass clippings, wood chips. Depending on the location of the style of what you're growing, wood chips are good or bad. I use wood chips in a food forest, but I wouldn't use wood chips in my annual cool crop, warm crop beds. That's just my personal opinion. Soil aeration. If your soil is compacted, that's going to mess with the root growth and water flow. So, aerating the soil is taking a garden fork, a broad fork, stepping on it into the bed, lifting the soil up underneath it, and moving throughout with the tool. You can also use cover crops that naturally breaks up compacted soil. Now, there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're talking about cover crops, understanding that you need diversity. I mean, you really need 5 different plant families in that cover crop mix, if you ask me. And you need to have a termination plan because a cover crop can quickly turn into a weed problem. I'm going to use weed, like quote unquote weed here, okay? Um, just understanding the full beginning to end before you even plant it and knowing when you should be growing a cover crop, it's a whole nother conversation. So improving your drainage, sometimes that might mean creating raised beds, right? If you just have an area that holds onto water more, raised beds can really help with that. Also, just where does water flow on your property? Having a plan for drainage for just water flowing through your own land You kind of have to take that into consideration, right? Let's go into clay soil and how to improve the drainage and aeration of clay soil, which is heavy, compact, slow to drain. How do we fix it? Well, we have our tried and true compost, of course. There's sand. I've done that because we have clay soil. Adding sand, 1 part sand, 3 part clay. Leaf mold, peat moss, the worm castings, and then gypsum is it's something that I hear about. I've never tried it. It's not organic, if that's a thing that you're on your checklist of growing. Gypsum is a mineral. It it loosens clay without altering the soil pH. It does have a high, no, what is it? It's a useful addition for heavy clay soils with high salt content. You'd have to read about gypsum on your own. I don't know when it's okay and not okay to use it or how much I don't. Let's say you have a sandy soil. Sandy soil drains quickly, often causing nutrients and moisture to leach out before plants can hold on to them and use them. We can amend this. Of course, adding compost, manure, coconut coir, peat moss, worm castings, building up your own soil, building the soil food web, chopping and dropping things onto the surface, letting it break down and building soil, leaf mold, etc. Loamy soil is the ideal texture, retention, water retention, nutrient available type of soil that gardeners want. We need to still maintain it. We still need to have fertility and microbial activity. So the best amendments for that is, of course, again, the compost, the worm castings. They help enrich by adding nutrients, boosting the microbial life, and improving water retention in dry spells. Bone meal is an option for phosphorus, essential for root development, flowering, and fruiting. Fish meal or blood meal, they are rich in nitrogen that would help your leafy green growth and any nitrogen loving crops. Alfalfa meal, this is an excellent organic fertilizer that provides a balanced supply of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, contains trace minerals to support overall plant health. And then kelp meal or seaweed, if you have access to that, it supports strong root systems, adding a small amount to the soil in the spring or mix it in just with your compost pile, right? So now that we have our list, we need to talk about general application guidelines like timing, balance, aeration, how to apply, when to apply, right? You can do a lot of amending in the fall to allow organic matter to break down, and then it integrates into the soil. Balance, that would be running your tests, right? Getting the data like we talked about in the beginning. Air is important for root health and nutrient absorption. We talked about using broad forking or just general forking, getting air in there, using a cover crop. Now, the thing that helps for me is the timing of at planting. Like the natural fertilizers like bone meal and fish meal apply at the time of planting. The worm castings I agree with as when you're putting that plant in, right? When you're incorporating compost, having it in the top 4 to 6 inches of the soil is plant available for the roots, right? Mulching after incorporating your amendments and covering the soil with organic things like straw or grass clippings, um, wood chips if you want to use wood chips, that's going to help you out. And avoid over fertilizing. We need to read the directions, okay? More is not better in these situations. Now, how do you prepare for spring rains? Now, I'm managing that excess moisture. Now, some of you maybe don't even grow anything in the early spring. It's too cold. I mean, some of us can't put anything in until June, anyways, right? But if you have excess spring rains, please get a rain barrel and capture that rainwater for the summer, first of all. But also make sure you're improving your drainage, which might mean a raised bed solution. Adding organic matter helps absorb and drain the water. Creating berms or swales. If you have a larger garden, the berms are the raised area and the swale is the shallow depression. To direct excess rainwater away from plant roots, swales can help slow down and absorb rainwater, preventing erosion. Of course, our mulch situation, and then just monitoring drainage around the garden paths, fences, buildings don't block natural water drainage, clearing gutters, directing rainwater where you want it, right? There's also the opposite of this, preparing for dry spells. A lot of people go the drip irrigation route. They have the full power and scheduling and control of the water being delivered to the plants, watering early or late, deep watering versus little trickles every day. Your mulch is, again, super important when it comes to this, preventing that evaporation, and just selecting drought tolerant plants if you know that's something that you're going to run into. Rain barrels, got to store the water when we have it, and soil amendments, compost, coconut coir, or other manner. If you don't like coconut coir, use a substitute for that, of course. It's dealer's choice, okay? And the most important thing that we talk about with our soil food web is why beneficial microbes and worms matter. Soil is a dynamic environment full of life with billions of microorganisms. Your bacteria, your fungi, your protozoa, and earthworms, they live beneath the surface, okay? These organisms work together to break down organic matter, recycle nutrients, and improve soil structure, protecting the plants from harmful pathogens. Why are they essential? Well, the microbes, like nitrogen-fixing bacteria, mycorrhizal fungi, and decomposers, help break down organic material into plant-available nutrients. They form that symbiotic relationship with plant roots, boosting nutrient absorption and promoting healthy plant growth. We have to have rhizophagy. We have to have that communication between the root system and what is in the soil, so they can go, hey, I need a little bit more of this, or I have too much of that. If that plant has a healthy immune system, the bugs are not going to want to eat it. And when you or an animal eats it, it's going to have the best nutrition for your gut health, right? Earthworms tunnel through the soil, creating channels for air and water to penetrate deeper into the earth. They consume organic material, digest it, and excrete nutrient-rich castings, which enhance soil fertility. And their movement also helps mix and aerate the soil. We did a live stream dedicated to vermiculture. We talked about how to raise worms. Now, those would be red wigglers, not earthworms, but it helped us look at what is a worm's diet? How do they actually eat and process things? We looked at a whole example of the body parts of a worm, where to get them, how to get the castings, how to use them, what are they good for? How do we encourage beneficial microbes? Of course, the organic matter. That we need their food and we need their shelter, right? Having logs here and there, having rocks here and there, having that diverse planting, that is going to give a wonderful home and food source for the microbes. Avoiding soil disturbance is going to make it so you have a better microbial species going on, right? Using your garden fork or broad fork to aerate soil without tilling. Now, there are situations where tilling is necessary. Don't get me wrong. So, again, dealer's choice. Gardeners get to decide. You get to garden your own way, right? Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Shawnee Grows, for even more tips and live streams. We do educational live streams. You can come and ask questions. Most of the time, there's a subject happening. Thanks for listening to Learn As You Grow. Be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, and share it with a fellow gardener. Until next time, grow every day in every way.